So right, I can say hi everyone. Again, my name is Anthony Rogers. I'm the founder and CEO of Bob Cut Mag. I would get up to show you a magazine, but I'm currently just, stapled into my chair. But yes, as Edwin said, I'm an ex-alumni. I also now teach at the Academy of Art University. I teach PH 464, which is self-promotion and marketing. So today I just wanted to come in and just chat with you guys just about, I'm actually trying to find my notes. Oh gosh, sorry, my notes aren't loading. I just love having not great high-speed internet. I was gonna say, but regardless, I'm not sure if any of you saw my Instagram live on AAU Photo on their Instagram last, oh gosh, what day was it? All the days are blurring together. I think it was like last, oh gosh, Tuesday? What was it?
Yes, I think it was this last Tuesday, yes.
One of the Tuesdays. So if you all got to see it, thank you for coming. If not, then we're going to kind of chat about some of the stuff that I talked about here today. Some of the stuff from that IG Live in this class. And I want to ask, just to, hopefully I can see everyone's face. I'm going to put myself in gallery view. Show of hands, everyone. Who has a bio about themselves? Show of hands. Show me a hand. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, we got like 6 people have bios. Some people don't. Some people are bio-less. I get it. And this might be a question that's kind of a redundant question, but how many of you guys know what you love to shoot? Your favorite? Oh wow, the hands all sprung up. This was an amazing day for me. Well, amazing. So you guys are in a great spot right now. And something that I teach in PH 464, self-promotion and marketing. We talk about a lot about your work as photographers, your imagery, but we also like to talk about what makes you you. What makes you that person that walks in through the door with a portfolio in hand and says, "I'm here to get the job," singing and screaming into the room as you walk in. Some things that that we teach in my class that we talked in the IG Live last Tuesday, which I suggest you all go watch. I think it's now available on aulens.com. Let's help. I'll double check on that. But one thing that we always talk about, especially in my class, is the marketing message. Does anyone know what a marketing message is by chance? Raise of hands, show of hands. Ooh, the silence. Okay, we got 1, 2, 1, 2, halves. I love that. We got a lot of this going on. A marketing message is the brand North Star. It is the message that you as a person put out into the world. It says, this is why I'm a photographer. This is the kind of work I'm making. XYZ, here we go, and why. So, it can be, if you're a documentary photographer, you have a passion on photographing, homelessness in San Francisco, and you are working through a project like that. That's a marketing message you put out there to say that, this is the work I stand for. This is the work that I want to go forward with, and this is the kind of stuff that I want people to remember me by. And so in our IG Live on Tuesday, I was telling everyone in the live class that since we're all kind of stuck at home, we're all kind of maybe pondering our photography, what we're doing. We're getting to that senior level, junior, senior, where we're getting ready for the big bad world. Is anyone, another show of hands, ready for the world? Okay, so we got like one person. Okay, great, fabulous. Okay, that makes me so confident. But one thing that that especially we try to work on while you're ready to work on at home while you're working on your own imagery, but you should be working on yourself, is asking yourself when you're sitting down, looking at all your work, thinking about the top 10 words that describe you as a photographer. And doesn't have to be basic words like color, light. It can be things like whimsical, effervescent, evanescence. That's a band. Anywho, thinking of these top 10 words that you can fully pick from the list and say, this is XYZ. These are the words that describe me. And I'm actually going to pull up really quick a example of one of my former students who had a fabulous marketing message that then landed her a job doing really beautiful portraiture at Pottery Barn. Let me just quickly grab her about section. I'm going to throw it in the chat. I'm becoming a Zoom expert by now knowing how to use a chat box. It's really great. So I've just thrown a link in the chat to a photographer. Her name is Francine Zavala. You probably may know her. She's also an AAU, I think, alum now, but was a student last fall. And her marketing message, her little marketing message that she came up with in the class is, a painter of modern imagery. My work evokes elegance and classic virtues while staying true to my subject's likeness. That's fabulous. Am I right? That is a fabulous marketing message. And just some of the keywords that we pointed out together was a painter of modern imagery, evokes elegance, classical virtues, subject's likeness. Just by hearing that, you don't even have to see the work as much as you kind of already know in your head by reading it what she is going to be putting out there in the world. I hope we all have lovely imaginations. We're all artists, I hope. So, as we're sitting here, as we're sitting in our homes, just, working on photography, photoshopping, etc., we should also be thinking about ourselves. What do we want to put in the world? What kind of words do we want to encapsulate onto our socials, our Instagrams, our Facebooks, our Twitters, that fully describe our work without people actually having to see it? So, as a little exercise, you always can, again, start jotting down words that immediately come up to you that say, this is me as a photographer. To some of our maybe, more technical photographers, it's using words like commercial, sound, light speed. I don't know. It could be anything and everything that can describe you. But a marketing message, again, the marketing message can be used, in your Instagram bios, Twitter bios, on your letterheads, in your about sections. It can be used everywhere because the marketing message is always your brand North Star. It's something that you look to while you hold hands with your physical photography. If that makes sense. Hopefully that does. In the class I teach, PH 464, which I recommend you all take it in the fall if you have time in the fall to take it. That is a full 5-week sit down of marketing message boot camps where we don't even look at people's photography. We just talk about you as a person. A lot of what I tell my students or tell people, especially in the small business category, when I sit with them to discuss, their business, is that your work may speak for you. Your work may do all the talking, but in reality, you're doing the talking because you're a physical human being that uses mouth and words and verbiage. So you should talk about, what you're passionate about, what your brand North Star is to people, and get people to believe it. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I'm staying on time and in track here. I'm gonna hopefully, I think we'll have probably like last 15 minutes for questions, I assume, at the end there.
Yeah, until like a full hour until 3:40. So at 4:40, yeah. So you're
cool, amazing. So anywho, so hopefully you all are excited to do marketing messages in that capacity. I'm gonna just keep asking for a raise of hands because that's how I get a good gist of everyone here. How many of you guys have a contract, a personal owned contract that you use? 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, it's about 4 or 5 people. That's great, amazing. I'm excited you all have contracts. The ones who don't, this is another thing you should be also working on right now, since you are stuck at home, nothing to do, is formulating your contracts. Formulating your contracts that are your booking contracts, your retouching contracts, your post and pre-production contracts. These are things that, give that 50-50 to a client that says, hey, I'm going to do work for you, you're going to do work for me. And this will be a mutual benefit of each other's time. Ultimately, a contract just sets the groundwork of everything that you are going to do for the client and what they're going to do for you. I'm not sure if any of you have ever been taken advantage of for your photography. I know I have, and I wish a contract would have been in place for me to read and to write. Have any of you ever signed contracts? 1, 2, 3, yeah, 4, 3. I know all of you are liars because all of you have an iTunes account and you all pressed OK on the terms and conditions. I know you are liars. So you all have signed a contract. It's called terms and conditions. You should read them. Okay, sorry, we're gonna move on. We're gonna move forward here. But some of the things that, I tell everyone, especially small businesses, photography students, you all are a small business, by the way. This one I just keep referring to. You also are photographers, but you're also, money makers, little cash sheep prancing through the forest. Anyhow, regardless. So some of the 3 things that I tell, my former students and current small business owners is there's 3 clauses to look out for. while you're reading a contract or while you're writing your contracts. I have just a question anyone can speak up, and I would love some class interaction. Does anyone know what a transfer of rights is? Yes, over here in the red shirt, raising her hand. Hello. Wait, I'm gonna have to unmute you. Yes, can you tell me what a transfer of rights is?
Like the copyright for the photography?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, so I guess whoever pushes the button is the copyright owner until I decide to sell it.
Yes, so that's, I mean, you essentially got it right there in the head. A transfer of rights, if say you're working with a client, you know, maybe a bigger client, smaller client, if they have a contract for you that says transfer of rights in it, that essentially means that once you sign the dotted line, any work you make for the client is owned by them. They own it 100%. Your copyright, your work is 100% owned by them. That's a transfer of rights. It's basically saying, here's my child, goodbye, and then you walk away, never to see it again. You have no say in how it's edited. You have no say in how it's used, etc. Which sounds exciting, right? Which sounds like a totally fun and like amazing thing. No one looks enthused, but that's okay because I'm very excited about contracts. I love them. I love a lawsuit. What you should be writing in those contracts, say a client gives you a contract, you're reading it over. Just to also fill the air here, if any of you feel that, you know, you have to sign the contract right then and there to get the job, I would like you to dash those thoughts immediately. A contract should take 1 to 2 to 3 months to review, rewrite, take it through a third-party person, a friend to look through, and then give back to the client. There is no pressure in signing the dotted line immediately right then and there. And I have a lot of, you know, photography alumni who are my former students saying, you know, I'm nervous. I want to get the job now. I want to be able to start working right now and do it. And I'm like, I know, but also like, stop, read, do the reading. Read, please. Read between the lines. You know, you always have the right to take the contract, take it home, reread it, study it, look up things, ask questions, scratch things out. So if you see a transfer of rights, you know, transfer, not a good thing, in a photography contract, say a client contract, you want to scratch that sucker out and put grant of rights. Does anyone know what a grant of rights is by chance? Oh, I was going to say, red shirt again. I want to say what a grant of rights is.
I guess it's like partial agreement for what you do allow them to use your images for. Maybe?
Yeah, essentially, yeah. You are the pinpoint of how those images get used, relicensed, edited, sent around, you know, who can use them, why they use them. If a client is like, you know, we want to be able to have a grant of rights to use them in press, on Instagram, on Facebook, paid ads, etc., where, you know, billboards, that every time they use your images in any particular media, there's a different there's a different price they pay through that grant. There's no sort of question in the thing. Is there in any case that a client wants to sign right there? Oh, right there and then. Is there any case that the client? There are some clients for sure that, sorry, I'm answering, sorry, there's also, if you guys have questions too, you're more than welcome to put in the chat. You don't have to wait for me to call on you if you want to put in the chat. I should probably preface that. Also, I should probably preface really quick, just as a footnote, because I did it in my IG Live. I am not a tax advisor, I'm not a CPA, nor am I an attorney, so I cannot give you any tax or legal advice today. But if you have any general questions, please put them in the chat and I'll answer them. But to go back to her question, some clients, yes, in some cases, will pressure you to sign the dotted line right then and there. Say if you're sitting in their office, if you're in, say, a recruiting agency, they'll make you want to sign kind of, you know, right then and there, take a look. I'm always of the nature of saying, thank you so much, can I take this to go? And then leaving with it, going and sitting in a coffee shop, reading it over, scratching things out, etc. In some cases, if you're getting hired for a job, a salary, you know, 9 to 5er, there may not be a lot of wiggle room there to negotiate a contract. But if you're working as a freelance commercial photographer, you have every right as the second party to take that home and write on it, etc. So really quick, grant of rights is that anytime they want to license images from you, whether it's 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, however long you have this relationship with your client, that when those times expire, they come back to you to reuse those images. Just as a quick, another show of hands, how many of you guys are using your metadata every time you make photos? Okay, yeah, there's a fair amount of people. Good, great. Okay, good. To the ones who aren't, and if you forget, I would preface and I would hope that you are writing in your metadata every time you make a photo, the copyright, contact, address, your full name, etc. Just in case if somehow you unfortunately land with a client who's not as professional, that you have full protections. I'm not going to go into whole copywriting and everything today, because that is a 2-week assignment in my class, and it is a lot to go through. But just kind of going in on contracts. Moving into the second thing to look out for. 2 words to look out for in other people's contracts is the phrase "without limitation" and "exclusive." And I think that's maybe pretty self-explanatory what those 2 are, but does anyone have a guess what "without limitations" is? Yes, orange shirt, hello.
Well, exclusivity. I signed an exclusive contract with Sotheby's, and they had the rights, still have the rights to my photos.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. So I was going to say, yeah, but basically, without limitations, exclusive, are both the same thing. They basically say the same things to each other, is that they can use your images wherever, however they like, and they're exclusive to the client. And it doesn't mean it can be, say, a campaign photo or some big banner. It can be as small as an Instagram photo. E-commerce photography is always something that the client wants to be exclusive and without limitations too.
Magazine cover.
Yeah, magazine covers, everything. Of course, there's a time and place to whether you want to just give, without limitations, exclusive rights to. It really depends on the client you're working for. It's really person to person, depending on, if the client is this big conglomerate, that's a little harder to work around with their lawyers. It's a lot. We go over this in my class. It's a fun time. I bring in photo attorneys. It's a really fun, exciting law-making time. No art, just math, which I hope you're all excited about math. So there's those 2. I'm going to just go in the chat really quick. Can you advise where we should take a grant of rights part or just a business attorney to compose it? Can you advise where should we take the grant of rights part or just use a business attorney? That's a great question. For the most part, in a lot of photography contracts, whether you're working with a small business, mid-sized business, a lot of those you can do yourself. You can pretty much write in your own clauses into contracts, say the grant of rights, say, it's not exclusive, it's non-exclusive, et cetera, and so on. Those are a little bit easier to negotiate. If it's a bigger client per se, then at that point, you would want to bring in, say, a third-party photo attorney, which if you all are part of the APA or ASMP, you have access to that, which is an amazing part of your membership. I hope you all are part of APA. Okay, great, fabulous. It looks like for some of us are. Cool, love that. I recommend staying a part of the membership because you have a lot of resources. But yeah, so it really just depends on the client, and especially how big they are, who their lawyers are. But if it's a small to mid-sized business, you can normally negotiate those yourself, and with very limited legal intervention. Let's see. And then another quick question from the bottom: is royalty kind of thing better than pay it there and then? Not sure if I can ask this. No, understandable. Royalties are only paid out if the client per se makes money off the photo. This kind of gets tricky. Royalties usually come a lot from stock photography sites. They usually come along from past licenses that get resumed through stock. It's mainly through stock websites. Creating your own license, in a sense, through the client, through your contract, usually yields a lot more dollar signs than using, say, stock, if they had to buy it through a stock website. Which is all things that are so exciting. just to note about stock websites, you should read their contracts. You should read their terms and conditions. I hope you are all reading terms and conditions. I was gonna say, I hope you all tonight are just like on iTunes with a glass of wine, just like reading your terms and conditions, being like, so exciting. I get very excited about it. Regardless, with stock websites, some of the rule of thumb that we speak about in my class is that if you're going to use a stock site to upload photography to and say make money, upload work that is the least important. Don't upload your best work to a stock website. You're ultimately going to shoot yourself in the foot by potentially not even making back the money you made on making those photos. If you have test photos of, a wine glass up against sunlight that you're just testing something with, and you have that photo, then great, throw up on a stock site because you can make some passive money through that, and it's a low impact photo on your career. Hopefully that makes sense. Anywho. Last thing on the contract, is anyone like a concert photographer, wedding photographer, influencer photographer? Does anyone shoot anything like kind of semi-important of that nature? Hopefully, a brief show of hands. Anyone shoot concerts, weddings, influencers, important people? Maybe people who may have like 10K on Instagram, whatever, regardless and so on. So if you're going to say, you're going to go to Coachella next year, hopefully, let's pray. Going to go to Coachella next year, and you got a media badge to photograph, all of the people performing and whatever, et cetera and so on. You're maybe or at the Independent, and you're photographing someone there. There is a particular clause in some of these contracts, either used by talent agencies, by media association agencies that are a part of the concert. And I'm going to try to remember the name. Let me just quickly. I'm going to irrevocable. Gratis. Okay, got it. It's a long word. The clause you should look out for is the word irrevocable gratis promotional use. Does anyone know what that means before I continue? You can show of hands. No, shaking heads, a lot of shaking hands. Okay. Irrevocable gratis promotional use is a clause in a contract that basically states that if, say, you photograph Ariana Grande at her concert, or you're photographing Taylor Swift at Coachella, Taylor Swift or Ariana Grande could find that photo of them, post it to wherever they want, and they don't have to pay you for it. Because it ultimately, you're letting them promote your work and letting them promote themselves with this image that was taken in a private entity. A lot of times, these contracts are also used, say, for talent agencies. I know a lot of talent agencies in LA who work with influencers, like, millions of influencers, millions of followers on Instagram or whatever, will make you sign this to work with their influencer to shoot their street style. But then, they can use these images however which way they like. Kind of an example, I did a shoot for Benefit Cosmetics for their annual report last year in April, and we went to Napa with 4 German influencers and 4 Italian influencers. And due to the irrevocable gratis promotional use clause that I signed, which I was totally fine with because they were paying me a good amount of money, I signed, but during the shoot, during the whole time of going to different wineries, going to do a hot air balloon ride, I had to airdrop photos from my camera to their phones so they could immediately edit them and post them to their Instagrams. It gets nuts. It gets wild and out with Nick Cannon. So one thing to look out for, that this might be a clause that essentially, if you're photographing Taylor Swift at her concert and you're in the media pit, her manager might say, airdrop me that photo right now. I need to send it to Taylor's team. They can post it right now about her performing at Coachella. And that might happen. So something to look out for. Again, the phrase is called irrevocable gratis promotional use. Some fun things to look out for if you're, again, photographing influencers, celebrities, concerts. A lot of times paparazzi have to do it in order to have that access into, say, Kim Kardashian leaving a hotel room and then being able to be in the media pit to photograph her for whatever magazine they're photographing for. That's why a lot of paparazzi photographers either do that and are fine with it, or they sneak in the bush and get a zoom in shot of Justin Bieber on vacation. That's not the tea. Some quick questions in here. Oh yes, irrevocable. If I can spell it correctly, I'm sorry for my bad spelling. I'm an editor. I should know how to do this, but I don't still, and that's okay. Promotional use. So essentially, it just really depends on time and place with this particular clause in a contract. If you're okay with the fact that potentially Taylor Swift might take your photo, might use your photo on her Instagram or on her newsletter, not credit you, but you've been potentially paid for the job, you have to really weigh your options. You know what I mean? Is it going to be worth the fight to try to go after Taylor Swift for a photo of her that you signed a contract that had that clause in it? It's a really weighted battle. So hopefully, let me just type this in real quick. Without limitation. What was the first one I talked about? Oh gosh, why am I forgetting now all of a sudden? What was the first one? What was the first part of that contract? I forget. Anywho, if it comes to me, I'll add it back in the chat. Regardless. So if you are currently writing your own contracts, if you are, if you have contracts that you're currently, working with the client and you have the ability, there we go. Thank you. Exclusive. Appreciate that. And you have the ability to rewrite them or to renegotiate your terms, I would say go ahead right now. Everyone's sitting at home. We all have time to look through our contracts and to make sure they're solid. Of course, if you take my class, PH464, that then you'll be able to learn so much more about contracts. We take usually about 2 weeks for that as well. There's a lot we learn in my class. It's very business and self-promotion marketing oriented.
I have a question. Is it going to run on the summer?
It's going to run in fall.
Fall. Okay, perfect.
Fall time. So if any of you are already coming back for fall, hey, I'll be around. I was going to say really quick, so make sure we close it. Yes, so you have the number there. So another thing that we all, another thing that I am, pitching a lot to my alumni who are coming to me asking, hey, I'm stuck at home, to some of our people in beauty and fashion photographers, it's a little bit more of a trying time. You can't really be photographing people. You can't be, et cetera, so on. It's kind of trying. And on the flip side, to a lot of our product photographers, people who love photographing beauty, et cetera, they're having a field day because they can just do it at home and, and photograph, what they please. So this message I'm about to say kind of goes out to everyone, but has anyone ever sent out a physical piece of mail to someone? Has anyone actually mailed? I'm going to just do that as a general. Has anyone ever mailed something? Great. Yeah, I got some mailing. Yeah, I got some hands. Yes, everyone's mailing today. I love it. One thing I'm telling a lot of my alumni who are coming to me on Instagram, like, hey, what should I be doing now? I feel like I'm not getting myself out there. Instagram isn't really helping. I'm just posting to avoid. I'm reminding them hey, you should be sending out printed mailers of your work to past clients, friends, family, potential clients, people you want to work with, people you idolize, finding their address, finding their P.O. boxes, and sending them a postcard, a mini magazine, a cup with your photo on it. One of my alumni from 2 years ago loved doing in advanced digital capture. He loved doing high-speed photography of water moving, like when you drop rocks in it. He loved shooting water moving. So he had one of his water moving shots and put it on a cup. That was just like a funny little moment of it's water on the side of, I don't know. I thought it was this is kind of clever. And then he had his logo and everything at the bottom of the cup. Huge, nice, usable cup. Something to think about, as we're sitting at home, maybe not reaching our demographic on our social media channels, is that, pick out the 5 to 10 people that you either idolize, love working with, past clients, future clients, and find their addresses and send them a fun little mailer. It can be, something from, some of, things my students have used, Vistaprint.com has a lot of great marketing materials that you can have shipped to you in small quantities and sent out. Printful, which does mainly apparel and home items, is a great idea to either print logos on, to print your photography on, to then mail those out. Since we can't be reaching people maybe digitally right now, why don't we just essentially create physical mailers to send out in the next month. It's something I've been telling my students. It's a really good idea to kind of also kind of be above the fray in a bit, because people are love in this current age, 20% of packages are being sent more through the mail ways as ever, and people love receiving nice, lovely handwritten gifts. People love getting gifts. I'll tell you what. And it doesn't have to be on your postcard, please hire me, I'm looking for a job, oh my God, help. blood, some stamps. No, but it can be as simple as, hey, I saw that, if you're, say, sending a postcard to the director, art director at Sephora, and you're saying, hey, I saw your guys' campaign of high inclusivity. I thought that was a really beautiful shoot you all did. See the photo on the front of this postcard to see, some of my work that I've done that photographs really beautiful, inclusive women and men, etc. Depending on what you do. So hopefully, to get some ideas spurred all up in there. Also, just really quick, let me grab my second part of my notes. Let's see, sorry about that. Give me 1 second. Great, okay. And so something else this is my part 3 that I want to kind of tap into. This might be a very sad question. You don't have to answer if you don't want to, but show of hands. Has anyone felt lonely doing photography at home by themselves with no one around to help them? Me, yeah, yep. Hey, I feel that. So say, or you're not maybe feeling as inspired. You're not feeling as energized. When we were in class together, it was, we could look at each other's work, see what we're doing, help each other. Oh, do you need someone a hand for that shoot? Do you need an assistant for this, et cetera, and so on. It kind of gets a little isolating just doing these Zoom calls, which is totally understandable. Has anyone attended any outside workshops or anything that does photography, brainstorming? Anyone hit show of hands, done anything fun of that nature, which is great. Good, I'm happy. How was was the Nevada desert background? How was your experience in doing those workshops?
Yeah, I contacted a photographer I followed for a long time, and they were having a special where they would review your portfolio, and you could have 15 minutes of their time. You could go over all these different things. You could ask them any question, and they're trying to make money too right now. So it was something they were doing. So it's someone I wouldn't have had access to outside of this whole, COVID thing. So it was awesome because I was able to get to know where I need to go from here. So
amazing, yeah. Fabulous. Well, I was gonna say, something I recommend to all of you, especially in finding workshops. One of the sites that I advocate for, I'll put right here in the chat. One of the sites I advocate for so strongly when it comes to having, productivity power hours, happy hours, meeting other photographers, designers, creatives. It's a site called ilovecreatives.com. Which is founded by an LA UX designer named Puno. She's an amazing art director, photographer, website designer. She does a little bit of everything, and she brings the community together by doing these fun marketing therapy happy hours, by doing these how to do PR, how to level up your photography game, how to learn Squarespace, and she does these really great Zoom happy hours where we get to chat through a lot of questions that people have about what could I be doing right now, what could we all be doing. And actually, really quick, I'll show you as an example on the share screen. Gotta give me a second. I can play you a little part because last night, luckily enough, I got to be a part of their marketing therapy hour, which essentially was talking through Instagram marketing, Facebook marketing, paid meetings with people, etc. So let me just quickly find and forward this, or I will actually grab this link for you all once it loads here. Give me just 2 seconds. I love having high-speed internet. Spectrum, it's the best. Let me copy this really quick, throw this over here, close this out, go back to the Zoom, chat, there we go. I wonder if I can share this. Here, let me just do my little share screen here. Hopefully it will share my screen. Share. Okay, can we all see my screen?
Yes.
Fabulous. Okay, let me see if I can play a little bit of it. Something to pause over.
Mm-hmm. So when, I guess, what is something that you can do that can show people that, what is in the magazine? Because, right now on your Instagram, I see that an issue is available, but I'm you sell it very randomly, or not sporadically, not as much. And I get why too, but I'm wondering if there's a way that in each post, it always brings it back to.
Anywho, so I could go on with this video I just put in the chat, but essentially, it was a great time for me to sit down with a ton of creatives from all over the world and just to look through our Instagram, our photography, our video, and just to see like, what do you guys think about this? Do you guys like it? Is it not resonating, etc.? We have our current classmates, and we set up these workshops is always great, but to find other outside sources too, and just to have a moment of like, hey, getting to know the community, and especially with I Love Creatives, which I'm not affiliated, I'm not getting paid to say that I love them, but being a part of their workshops, they also have the comment section in the chat of their Zooms, and it's just people with so many ideas going off. Like, you should do this. Oh my God, I love this shirt idea on your website. People are so invested in their community, which is something I really love and appreciate. So ilovecreatives.com. Another site that just for resources right now, especially as we are sitting at home, is another site called weekend-creative.com. I'll put their thing in the chat too. So they're a San Jose based creative company that does mainly photography, but their founders on their blog will, they have a ton of resources about how to pitch clients, what's the right contract for you, how to do deposits, etc. So they give you a little bit more really great practical business knowledge that can help just with your next steps in coming into, post-graduation, I'm now a photographer, hear me roar, hear me scream, which is something really exciting. Anywho, do you have any questions? It's a lot. I know it's a lot of information. Do we have any questions on anything self-promotion and marketing and business-wise? I know I kind of rambled on. And Edwin, if you want to chime in or anything, if you want to ask me anything, you're more than welcome.
Sure. Anyone wants to jump in first with a question that you might have? And
you can come off mic. That's totally fine. I'd love to hear your voices and whatnot. Anything about self-promotion marketing, Instagram, Facebook, the tea.
So when you were talking about the gratis, the irrevocable gratis promotional use, what happened if you are in a concert, you photograph a celebrity, then you use that as part of, for example, composition in one of your images, or if you're an artist and you paint one of their images, since they're from public dominion, do you have to get their permission, or is yours?
So if, say, like an artist wants to then make, like, say, fan art of that photo you took of that celebrity.
Exactly, yeah.
That's kind of definitely a gray area. For the most part, the contract is between you and, say, the venue. It's between you and the promoter, or it's between you and the band manager, whoever the manager is. That would be a whole separate case if someone were to, like, recreate the photo and tag you and the artist. The artist could definitely go after that person. I don't think it's very unfortunately, a lot of illustration laws don't, or, especially like in the more physical hand art laws don't really apply so much to photography, because photography is such a finicky yet delicate contractual situation. But for the most part, that contract is only between you and the artist, so you and the band manager, whoever is at that venue. So I hope that answers your question.
And then, by example, if you take the photo, by example, you go to outside lands, and then you're just one of the people there, and you take a picture of one of the artists, and then you put it in one of your exhibits, and you start selling that image because people love that. What happened in that case?
Yeah, so totally. I mean, so there's definitely per se, a difference between, say, if like you're going to go shoot in the photography section of the venue, and you signed your contract, and the contract could state that you have just promotional use to use it. You can't sell the image, you can't do whatever with it. You just have the ability to put it on your website and to promote with it without making money. Depends on the venue and the band manager. But say, like, if you are going to outside lands by yourself, just you guys, without press badges, just taking your cameras in and photographing and making money, they could definitely come after you. Okay. Because you have no contract to protect yourselves. And sometimes, and I'm not sure if you guys noticed this, if you get a ticket for, say, Coachella, Outside Lands, any of the bigger festivals, when you go to checkout, they'll say, please read our terms and conditions before you check out. And it's just these pages, because they'll have, particular clauses about photography. So there have been some, I think it was Bonnaroo or one of those ones in Chicago, I can't remember. They had a clause in their checkout system that said, if you take a photo of our artist and you post it to Instagram and you tag us, the artist has the ability to then repost that photo without tagging you, without credit or without limitation.
Good.
Fun times, huh? Oh, yes. Hello, red shirt. Yes, hello.
I have a question about like product photography.
Yes.
I'm always struggling with the pricing that I'm supposed to charge, because all of the photographers, they don't write the price on their websites because it's so dependent on the job.
Yes.
So where do I start to evaluate? Like, how do I know?
That is my favorite part. What is your day rate? Ooh, I love this part because I love taking photographers in my class and making them do high performance math because they can't ever do it, and I love correcting math. But no, so one of the things I tell my students is that, so two things you need to add up first before you can then set your price. One thing is how much equipment do you own right now? And that can be everything with lenses, bodies, reflectors, lights, everything that you own, all of it. SD cards, everything that you have for photography that you use for, add it all up. And so some students in my class say would have $1,400 worth of gear. I had a student who had $70,000 worth of gear, and he loved collecting gear. He loved it. He loved technical. And so, add that up first. Add that up. It's probably going to be, I would say like, it's going to be like $6,000. You want to take that $6,000, divide it by 12, and then you'll get a certain amount for then. Was it divided by 12? Divided by 20? There's a lot of math. I have to remember the whole calculation. If you take my class, we learned about it. Essentially, divide that by 12. 6,000 divided by 12. That number that you'll use as a starting base. So it's probably gonna be like, let's say, maybe I'll just do it now. I'll just do a quick little math. Sorry, we'll do fast fire math. Say you have 6,100 dollars worth of equipment. Divide that by 12. So it's 508.33. So keep that number in mind, 508. So then say like you have a studio, or you're using your home, or you're using wherever to shoot with. It could be a rental, it can be your home, it can be your garage. You need to then add how much the rent is on that space, your home, your garage, and then divide that by 12. So say mine, for example, is $1,300. For our office, it's $1,300 a month. Times that, I'm gonna hold on a second. Oh, well, it's $1,300. You already know how much it is. It's $1,300 a month. So essentially, you add the 508 to the 1,300, and it comes out to roughly $1,808, and then adding in a 20% artist fee.
Yeah, why 12? Why are we dividing by 12?
Oh, sorry. Just take your rent and just take your whatever you pay on your rent and add that to the previous number.
Yeah, but why we divided the equipment by 12?
Because that's the month by month. So then in January, this is how much it costs. This is how much you need to make to cover the costs for a year, for a fiscal year. I hope that makes sense. So at that point, if you have the 508 plus that whatever your rent is, so mine was $1,300, I would need to make a baseline of $1,808 operationally at a revenue cost to keep my business going, and then adding in, of course, retouching time, how much an hour you charge for that, pre-production time, post-production time, during production time, that's your hourly rate. So that can then fluctuate, depending on travel, mileage. It gets a lot. You have to add up everything that you're doing to say like this job is worth the money, because it's definitely not worth to only get paid $300 a day for a week. Sometimes that's not really worth it. To drive, find gas, find parking, get a parking ticket, curse out the parking ticket meter maid, get another parking ticket. No, sorry, just kidding. We're going in a direction. Hopefully that gives you an answer, a good starting base. In my class, we do a week on day rates. So that's always a fun time. Anyone else? Any questions? Anything? Money, life, legal, etc. Things you've been pondering over? Raise your hand, I'll call you out. Oh wow, no one? All of you are perfect photographers? I love that. The silence is jarring.
So I wanted to ask you, I know you were talking in your live session a little bit about, how to front the situation that we're living right now, and what advice did you give us, that are struggling with finding gigs and, seeing the future of all these?
Yeah, totally. I mean, so actually, I got a question in the question section from a student at the end there. It's like, what do you recommend to people who, maybe are coming out ready to graduate, et cetera? What could we be doing right now in order to help us? This is something I tell everyone, and something I have personally experienced, is that if you're not shooting right now, please keep shooting personal work. Whether you're going to be testing out new product photography, people, documentary, etc., collaging new art, just be creating something to keep flexing the muscles, because ultimately, once we come out of this and we're, say, back to normal life and we're back to set, back to being on our feet, it's going to be hella rusty. So whether that's, every Friday you're setting up a product shoot, you're setting up a food shoot, you're setting up, you're photographing your roommate and you're doing portraits, testing out new lighting, that's, whether you use that photography or not, whether it's something you're never going to use, it's still good to keep flexing those muscles. And also for the marketing side of it, when you shoot those images, say you're testing out new stuff, post it to your blog. Talk about, the process of, like, I'm doing some product photography for the first time because I'm not a product photographer, and, I'm at home and I have all this stuff. Why not shoot some food? I wanted to kind of test it out, and throw that on your blog as a relatable moment for clients to come and read and say, oh, that person is still being very proactive right now during the crisis, during the pandemic, they're creating it at home. Show that versatility to a client that you are up to the challenge of trying new things. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yes, thank you. I think that's very helpful tip, especially in these times that we're all a little bit struggling with that part.
Yeah, it's nuts. I think as long as you all are just continually creating photography, it's great. I'm going to answer the chat and then I'll answer your question. Really quick, what are the best places to be social photography aside from Instagram? You know what? Hey, that is honestly a very, very good question, to be social with your photography. One thing I just was elaborating on was I Love Creatives and joining their workshops. Being able to mingle with other photographers and talk about photography and looking at each other's photography is great as a more physical, verbal. Instagram is a place where photos do play the best. Also, another thing to a lot of our photographers here, something you may have flown under the radar, Pinterest. Pinterest is a photo-based website. Those photos on Pinterest, if you tag them correctly, add in captions, add a title, and keep them updated, you will see a ton of impressions go your way. We just actually recently, our social media brand manager was like, let's get back to our Pinterest and uploading our articles back to Pinterest. And we saw a 600% boost. We had like 1,000 monthly viewers, and then we had 600,000 monthly viewers, just because she tagged everything correctly, added in, it was like a shot of an avocado. She's like, green, avocado, fruit, everything, just to keep it relevant. So Pinterest is actually surprisingly a really great place to upload photography and to potentially even find new connections and to even get more exposure. Hopefully that's your question. Red shirt, do we have a question?
Almost forgot what I was going to ask about putting your work out there on the Instagram. And most of the magazines, they want it exclusive and unpublished. So, for example, I'm working on a project right now, but I'm like not putting it on my social media. Like, how do you go around that? What do you do?
Yeah, totally. So it's say like you're posting stuff to Instagram and someone reaches out and says they want to post this for exclusive, unpublished. Is that like kind of the question?
No, I meant more like there is an option to submit to different magazines your work, and they usually want it to be exclusive and
unpublished.
You can't really show it anywhere.
Yeah, totally. Well, so I think for the most part, with any work that you create that you are wanting to submit, you shouldn't be posting it anywhere on social just until it has like a chance to land somewhere. Especially with a lot of these like fashion magazines like Lucy's or these random ones throughout the world who publish fashion editorial work that want it exclusive for no pay and for like basically it's it's thinking to yourself, is this going to be good promotion for me? Is this going to be good at the long run of like putting into my client book, to putting into my tear sheets that I was published? I mean, ultimately it's going to be your call. For myself, you know, I only am now, like, I won't publish in places that don't have a writer. Like, I want a full story written out with my photography work and not just my images, because I want it to look very professional and to look very well and thorough. Ultimately, it's going to be just a call on your end to say, like, hey, is this going to be basically worth it at the end of the day of self-promotion and marketing? Also, something for all of you to look out for. If you guys are going to be submitting work to magazines or, you know, wherever, you know, really look at that magazine's or whoever's organization's social media and see how they're promoting artists, see how they're promoting people. If they're like blasting them all the time, it might be a good return for you to say, oh, okay, let's get them published there, because I know they're blasting on their Instagram 5, 6, 7, 8 images from every shoot on their Instagram. Unlike some of these other organizations or magazines that maybe just will post just the cover photo of the story and then that's it. They don't post you ever again. Also, any magazine that asks you for money to publish in their magazine, don't. That's a clear sign that they have no idea how to monetize, and they're taking advantage of you as an artist. They should be paying you at the end of the day. Just something to note, because I fell into that trap last time with a magazine called Institute, and they wanted $225 for promotional fees.
Mm-hmm. No, it sounds like a whole lesson to talk about, because I just started looking into it while staying at home because I have time. And not published in any magazine, but many people do it, and I'm actually sitting right now and thinking, do I need it? Do I don't need it? Should I invest my time on it at all?
Yeah, totally.
It won't give to my career, or it won't give anything. So it's like a whole thing that I would be glad to discuss.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, well, something also to note too, I think for everyone in the room, you know, if you're focusing on like magazines and those kind of fashion editorial things, here's something to focus on: photo contests, gal. Photo contests are the tea. They involve prizes. They involve, submitting to major organizations, you know, that could be amazing eyes and ears on your photography through a more photography hiring context. I mean, sometimes submitting to magazines can be great. You might be an art director who want to work with you, et cetera. And sometimes those always usually work out. This is only my personal taste on this. But submitting to photo contests, the Nikon photo contest, Sigma photo contest, a lot of these camera companies, Profoto has one, I think. Like submitting to photo contests and photo entries are always the ticket for photographers. Anyone else have a fun little photo self-promotion question? Anything? Come on, I'm here. I'm free. I'm not charging you a day rate for this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think we reached the time, so we really thank you, and I hope everyone that is interested in taking the amazing class of Anthony Rogers signing for the fall. He's an amazing instructor. So he just shared his social media.
Just putting that in case.
Perfect. And Jean is recording this session, so we'll be sharing it as well with everyone that wants to watch it, or everyone that couldn't come to see it. So
perfect.
Cool. Well, let's give it a clap to Anthony. Thank you for being here. And we're gonna take a break, everyone, and then we're gonna come back to the pitch presentations and the photo class.
All right. Thanks everyone for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Anthony.
Thank you.
Bye.